Good morning everyone. In this video I'm going to analyze the live price action for EU and DXY to see what day trading opportunities there may be. You're going to see my strategy and my analysis, so if you're interested in those then please stick around. Starting here on the daily, man, there was such a good opportunity this morning. We'll get to that on the lower time frame, but here on the daily now we've got EU on the top, DXY on the bottom. As you can see, that bearish momentum is continuing this morning. Yesterday, you can see we had a bearish run, but ultimately pulled back, closing up not too far from the open, right, on EU. Let me just zoom in a bit. So you can see we created this sort of long-legged doji, kind of like a low test, but that's because clearly we've taken some lows, we've taken sell-side liquidity, which resulted in us pulling back closer to the open. Now, obviously, today has opened up, and during London, you can see we've continued bearish. If we look to DXY, we've had, going on now toward 5 bullish days. Today's continuing that momentum so far. And otherwise on the daily, we have our previous daily high, previous daily lows on both pairs, neither of which has been mitigated yet. So we are good to go. There's not much else to say on the daily. So let's get down to the 4 hour and see what that looks like. So now here we are on the 4 hour. As I mentioned, we had the bearish run yesterday, and we pulled back to close closer to the open. Now, of course, I mentioned we have taken sell-side liquidity, which resulted in that pullback, as you can see. Price has pulled back to a 4-hour order block up here in the sort of equilibrium of this leg at the midway point. We've respected that 4-hour order block so far today, and you can see we're having a good bearish run off of that. We are 9 minutes away from a bearish 4-hour engulfing. One thing to note, of course, as I've got here, we have a premium POI above that. So we do have a draw on price above that and an unfilled imbalance with an order block there on the 4 hour, which may be filled at a later date, but it's just something to take note of, which is above our previous daily high. Again, we are respecting this 4 hour order block here, and we have filled this 4 hour fair value gap, which you can see that I noted down here, but price is pretty much closing beyond that. It looks pretty clear, so I think we're good. I had that noted there just in case we rejected it. It may mean we was going to reach for higher prices. So if we look onto DXY now, forgive this candle, it's not moving. TradingView sometimes does that on the 4 hour. I don't know why. So this should be more bullish. So you'll see on the 1 hour how bullish we are at the moment once we move down. However, to continue, we have this POI below here, which I've also marked out. Now this should have lined up with this 4 hour order block, so we are a bit out of sync. We didn't fill this 4 hour POI on DXY. So that's maybe a bit of a negative for DXY longs, or it will become a target price draw for sells later, maybe once we take some more buy side liquidity. We are clearly bearish on the 4 hour. We have our lower high, lower low, possible lower high being created here, which would make this a weak low for a lower low. Same here, this would be the weak high, and price would be heading for more buy side liquidity, maybe above these highs, and of course above the previous daily high. So I think that's all the important things to note on the 4 hour at the moment. Of course, price is heading towards this weak low sell side liquidity, and there's also a 4 hour POI there as well. So let's drop down to the 1 hour and see what the intradays are showing. So just starting off zoomed out, at the moment everything is looking pretty textbook. As you can see, we've got our sweep of buy side liquidity here, we've broken down, we've pulled back, and even if we count this as a new leg, as I said yesterday, we've got our internal buy side liquidity sweep breakdown. So this could be a 1 hour leg. We've pulled back very correctively up into this POI here, swept some internal liquidity, which we'll see on the M15 more clearly, and we've broken down again. So I noted there was some sell side liquidity lows here. This was Asia lows that we've now broken through. So not really relevant because it's not causing any type of pullback. We've got a 4 hour fair value gap, and pretty much on the 1 hour, price looks pretty clear, no POIs right down to these lows. So I think we can expect to continue this trend, and we have a clear bias, right, for going bearish and going for shorts. Now onto DXY, you can see we respected this 1 hour order block here in the middle of price, didn't quite come down to where the 4 hour POI was, and we're reacting bullish. creating a weak high here. However, the only negative I do see at the moment is DXY is out of sync with EU. This low is much further than this high is. So we may take this buy side liquidity and that may cause some sort of pullback. That may be the pullback we need to continue going short, of course, but that will be buy side liquidity within this 1 hour order block POI here and may make price reverse. Price may need to come down to its 4 hour POI, right? So those are the negatives we have to keep in mind. However, at the moment, yes, we are very bearish and very bullish here, and price, it would be great to be able to continue with that trend trading in that direction. But we may get opportunities counter trend once we take this previous daily high, go into this 1 hour order block again, and we may see some structure shift for the pullback on EU. So we still do have some opportunities there to go long if it presents itself. We are heavily bearish at the moment, so I'm not sure if that's going to happen. And we of course have news today, which is, interest rate decisions, Fed press conference. So we may not get that opportunity. Price may not happen in time. But let's go down now to the M15 to see what opportunities we have for today. And we can go over the opportunity from this morning as well, which didn't quite pull back for us. So as I mentioned, textbook manipulation of the Asia highs. So let's go through this here. We have Asia range here. We are in a 4 hour POI. Price opened up in London, swept the Asia highs, caused the SMC divergence. We had a higher low with a higher high on EU. So SMC divergence and breakdown. Price is just going through it. There was no pullback. There was no break of this low, pull back to an OB to continue down. So yeah, we don't have that opportunity, unfortunately, but price action looks great. It's very, very readable, very predictable. POI, internal buy side liquidity sweep, breakdown. Unfortunately, no pullback for us. But you can see we've made our break of structures and price is heading towards our weak highs and weak lows. So what do I see at the moment? Of course, we can have price pull back from this area or wherever. And it could pull back into this area here where we've got our 15-minute order block, which swept the liquidity and created the breakdown. We have the fair value gap there, and we could trade down to continue with this trend to wherever the low is before we pull back, or ultimately the weak low, right? That's an obvious opportunity. I would be more grateful if the order block was clear, like with a fair value gap right after this, but there's a fair value gap and here's a cluster of a 15M OB. So I think that's a very clear opportunity there as well. Of course, price for that pullback is likely to do this, take that high, and then pull back, and that would give us this pullback up here. So that would be the negative, of course, right, that we've swept buy side liquidity, and then there's also POI down here on the 4 hour, right? So it may not respect here anymore, but we have our SMC divergence, and we'll also have more SMC divergence. So now let's look at the opportunities for longs. Now preferably I would want to long from here, right? Take this good sell side liquidity, maybe sweep it again. Now this is the most obvious long opportunity because it takes the week low, previous daily low, and that is the external structure here, and it would provide a nice major liquidity point for the pullback. However, if this scenario happens here where we take the previous daily high, that may happen higher up in price around here. So we could target up back into this area here. So price may create a structure somewhere around this area after we've swept this previous daily high and gone into this 1 hour order block. If price then of course rejects this previous daily high and comes down for that pullback, we may get some structure shifts like this, and price may break above, pull back on the M5 or whatever time frame it may be, and then do this pullback. Now, of course, we don't have any major POIs here. We'll be using the buy side liquidity sweep from DXY. Obviously, we have internal lows here, so that's sell side liquidity as well, which is helpful. But it'd be great, of course, if we had had the previous daily low, previous daily high in sync to just bring that confluence together. So that's the opportunities I see. This would be the mid-wave reversal for that pullback if it gets presented. And then we have our high probability shorts from up here in this area to go down and head and continue with that trend. All the while knowing we have negatives of a premium POI above and a discount POI below on DXY. So price may just continue past that point. So I hope you gained value. I think that was very clear. I think price action is really clear today. Unfortunately, we couldn't get involved. Be aware that there is news, so we may not actually be able to get in with any trades today, but we'll just be patient. Any comments, let me know. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.